"Hey, it's Robbie." Again. So, I said it. "Lara, we need to talk." 4 words. Standing in a doorway at 6 p.m. on a Thursday with my bag on my shoulder and my heart doing that unreasonable thing, and 3 words from an elevator hanging in the air between us. 4 words. And then she looked at me, and I had absolutely no plan for what came next. She was still holding her laptop, half packed, hand on the cover, looking at me with an expression I had never seen on her face before. Not the composure, not the almost smile, not the unreadable professional neutrality she wore like a second blazer. Something else. Something that looked, if I had to name it, like she had been waiting. She said, "About what?" Not a question. Not exactly. More like, she knew, and she was giving me the chance to say it, and whether I took it was entirely up to me. I took a breath. I said, "I don't know how to be in the same room as you anymore." She didn't move. I said, "And I need you to tell me I'm imagining it. Because I have a boyfriend and a promotion and a perfectly organized life, and I need you to tell me that whatever this is, I'm the only one feeling it. That it's just me, that I'm making something out of nothing, and I should go home and stop standing in doorways, and everything is fine." She looked at me for a long moment. The office was completely quiet. The city was outside the window doing its Thursday evening thing, and Lara said, very quietly, very evenly, looking directly at me, "You're not imagining it." 3 words. She picked up her bag. She walked past me through the doorway, and she was gone. I stood in the empty office for a long time, just stood there. You're not imagining it. I looked at the shared desk, at the 2 coffee cups still sitting side by side exactly where they always ended up, at the presentation material spread across the surface, at the chair she had pulled slightly closer to mine every single morning this week without either of us acknowledging it. You're not imagining it. I sat down. I didn't move for a long time. I thought about what 3 words meant when you had a boyfriend asleep at home who waited up for you and cooked the pasta and said you seem good different, like something is making you come alive. I thought about what 3 words meant when you had a promotion you had worked 3 years for and a campaign that was due tomorrow and a life that was organized exactly the way you had organized it. I thought about what 3 words meant when the person who said them picked up their bag and left before you could respond. I turned off the desk lamp. I walked out. Friday morning, I arrived at 7:29, which I noticed because I had been telling myself I was going to arrive at exactly 7:30, and my body had apparently decided on 7:29 instead, and I was not going to examine that. She was coming down the corridor from the other direction when I got to the office door. We arrived at the same time, both of us stopping at the door. She looked at me. I looked at her. Neither of us said anything for a second. Then she reached past me and held the door open. I walked through. She followed. We sat down. We opened our laptops. We did not talk about Thursday evening. We did not talk about 3 words said quietly in an empty office. We talked about the presentation. Here is what I noticed on Friday that I had not let myself notice before. When my coffee cup was empty, she refilled it without asking. Just picked up the carafe from the side table and poured and set it back down and returned to her screen like it was the most ordinary thing in the world. I stared at my refilled coffee cup for probably 4 seconds longer than was normal. She didn't look up. When I was talking through the narrative arc of the presentation, she turned her chair toward me and listened. Really listened. The kind of listening where you can feel the attention of it, where it has a weight. And when I finished, she didn't immediately respond. She just held the thought for a moment, like she was respecting it, like what I said deserved more than an instant reaction. Nobody had ever listened to me like that. I don't mean that dramatically. I just mean it was different. It was the kind of listening that made you want to keep talking, That made you choose your words more carefully because someone was actually receiving them. I caught myself mid-sentence at one point, just looking at her, while she was looking at her screen. The line of her jaw, the way she held her pen, the way a piece of her hair had come loose from the ponytail, and she hadn't fixed it, and it was just sitting there against her cheek, and she didn't seem to know, and I was extremely aware of it. I looked back at my screen. My heart was doing the unreasonable thing again. At 12:30, we ordered lunch to the office. We had never done that before. It was Marcus's suggestion. He sent a message saying he was ordering from the place on the corner. Did we want anything? The subtext being, "Please do not leave the building today." And so we said yes. And 40 minutes later, there was food on the desk, and we were eating and working, and it was ordinary, completely ordinary. Two colleagues eating lunch at a desk. Except at one point, I said something about the Hale client's obsession with the word authentic, which was arguably worse than curated, and she made that sound. The one that was not quite a laugh, but was the closest she got to one in the middle of a sentence, a small exhale of something that was definitely amusement, and I felt it. Right in the center of my chest, I kept talking. Pretended I hadn't noticed. She went back to her screen, but her expression was different for about 10 minutes afterward. Softer. Like the almost laugh had left a small residue of warmth on her face that she hadn't gotten around to composing back into neutrality. I was cataloging these things. I knew I was cataloging these things. I had stopped pretending I wasn't. The presentation was ready by 4:30. We went through it twice. Made 3 small adjustments, agreed it was the best work either of us had done, did not acknowledge that working together had made it better than either of us would have made it alone. At 5:15, she started packing up. The ritual, laptop, notebook, 1 pen, phone, in that order. The reset. I was packing my own bag, trying to do it normally, trying to be a normal person putting things in a bag. She said, not looking at me, straightening her notebook on the desk for the last time, "For what it's worth." I stopped packing. She said, "Monday was the best day I've had at work in 3 years. I looked at her. She was looking at her desk, aligning the notebook with the edge the way she always did. She said it so quietly, like it was a small thing, like she wasn't handing me something significant wrapped in the most ordinary possible delivery. I said, "Laura." She looked up, and for a second, just 1 second, I saw it completely. Not the crack in the wall, not the unguarded moment in a restaurant, the whole thing. The actual person underneath all of it. Someone who had moved from London 8 months ago and built a careful, precise life, and sat at a shared desk every morning and moved her coffee 2 inches to make room, and listened like what you said mattered and had not said a single unnecessary word in 8 months except, "You're not imagining it." Monday was the best day I've had in 3 years. She almost smiled, the real one. Then she picked up her bag and said, "Good luck tomorrow." And she walked out. I sat in the empty office for the second night in a row. Then I called Maya. This time I let her talk. She said, "Okay, I'm not going to say I told you so." I said, "You literally just said it." She said, "Robbie, what do you want? Not what is happening. Not what should you do. What do you actually want?" I sat with that for a long time. Outside the window, the city was doing its Friday evening thing. People going somewhere that wasn't an empty office with a shared desk and 2 coffee cups. I said, quietly, looking at the desk, "I think I'm catching feelings. Real ones, the kind that don't just go away." Maya was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I know." Then she said, "What are you going to do about Daniel?" I stared at the city outside the window. I didn't have an answer. I said, I don't know. She said, okay, that's honest. She said, get some sleep. You have a presentation tomorrow. I said, yeah. I hung up. I sat in the empty office. I looked at the 2 coffee cups, and I thought, for the first time without flinching away from it, about what it would mean to want something you're not supposed to want. And I sat with it, and I didn't look away.